The John Group headquarters towered over Seoul's skyline, glass and ambition reflecting in every inch of its polished walls. Inside the boardroom, you sat at the head of the table, posture perfect, expression unreadable. Every man in that room knew your name, every woman respected it. At 28, you had become the youngest CEO in your father's company's history, Han Corporation. You had built your reputation on elegance, restraint, and ruthless precision. They called you the Ice Queen of Soul. If only they knew how hard you worked to stay frozen. Across the table sat John Jungkook, the youngest executive of John Group. His father's pride, the media's obsession, black suit, silver watch, eyes too calm to be kind. The meeting was supposed to be about a joint luxury real estate project. But every sentence between you two sounded like a challenge. Miss Vine, finally the legend in heels. You smug, and you must be the heir everyone says is too charming to trust. Depends on who's trusting. Depends on who's charming. The tension was subtle, neither hostile nor friendly, a rivalry electric and elegant. When the presentation began, the panel announced a joint project proposal between your company and his, a potential collaboration worth billions. But there was one condition: only one company can lead. Han Corp can handle the design division independently. You said, sliding the proposal forward. Efficiency isn't about independence. Jungkook replied smoothly. It's about results. His tone was polite, his smirk wasn't. A few board members glanced between you, uncomfortable with the tension that had begun to pulse through the room. You lifted your chin slightly. Then let's compare results, Mr. John. You bring your best, I'll bring mine. For the first time, his expression shifted, faint surprise followed by something else, admiration perhaps. He didn't say it, but you saw it in his eyes. He liked people who didn't bow. You liked men who thought you would. That evening, your company co hosted a charity gala with John Group. The ballroom glittered, chandeliers spilling golden lights across marble floors, champagne glasses clinking in perfect rhythm. You stood by the balcony, your back to the crowd, the night air brushing against your skin. Below, the city glowed endlessly. Seoul, the sleepless empire you had sworn to conquer. You don't like parties, a voice said behind you. You turned, only to find Jungkook standing there, a glass of wine in his hand, his tie slightly loosened, calm, confident, far too composed for someone who has spent the entire evening being worshipped by investors. Neither do you, you replied. I like watching people. They reveal who they are when they think no one is watching. You smiled faintly, and what did you see when you watched me? He stepped closer, the city light catching the sharp lines of his face. Someone who is very good at pretending she's fine. For a heartbeat, you froze. You wanted to respond, to laugh maybe, but the words didn't come. He had seen something no one else ever had. And what about you? You asked quietly. What do you pretend to be? I stopped pretending a long time ago, he said simply. You turn your eyes back to the city, hiding the small smile that threatened to form. Maybe you just forgot how to feel. You said softly, maybe, but I'm guessing you remember a little too well. The silence between you wasn't awkward, it was charged, a quiet current of something neither of you could name yet. Weeks passed, business kept bringing you together, late night meetings, long phone calls, project discussions that somehow turned into personal conversations. He was infuriatingly composed, yet strangely kind, cold yet attentive. Every time you swore you hated him, he did something small like handing you coffee without asking how you liked it, or staying behind after everyone left, just to make sure you weren't overworking. And little by little, the walls you had built began to crack. One night, after another exhausting meeting, you started gathering your files. He leaned against the edge of the table, watching you. You should rest. So should you, replied. Home is just another office with softer chairs. He murmured. You couldn't help but smile. That's sad. It's the truth. What about you? Why do you work so hard? Because success is the only thing that doesn't leave you. You answered quietly. He studied you, really looked at you, like he was trying to memorize the sadness behind your strength. And if it does, he asked, then I'll build it again. A small silence stretched between you, fragile, delicate, almost dangerous. Then unexpectedly he smiled. You are dangerous, he said softly. To people who underestimate me, you replied. He didn't step closer, but the air between you changed. It wasn't professional anymore. It wasn't rivalry. It was something else, something that burned too quietly to ignore. That night, as you drove home through the quiet soul streets, his words lingered. You are dangerous to people who underestimate me. You poured yourself a glass of wine, watching the city through your window. The lights shimmered like a thousand small promises, beautiful and cruel. You used to think love was something that happened to other people, people who had time for heartbreak, who could afford to be weak, but Jungkook made you question that. It didn't happen all at once. It was in the way his eyes softened when he looked at you, how he remembered small things, your coffee preference, the classical music you liked working to, the way you always tied your hair back. Somewhere between boardrooms and midnight phone calls, you started to fall, not quickly, not foolishly, just quietly, helplessly, and deeply. Weeks later, at another business gala, you found him again. This time, he was the one standing alone by the balcony. For once, he looked tired, human. You stepped beside him. You don't like parties? You said softly. He turned surprised, then smiled a little. Neither do you. Yet we keep ending up here. Maybe because we both like pretending, he replied. You looked at him, pretending what? That we are fine, that power is enough. His voice was low, bitter. You watched him for a moment, something heavy pressing in your chest. Maybe power isn't enough, you whispered. Then what is? He asked. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you have to fight all the time. The words slipped out before you could stop them. He looked at you as if he finally saw past every layer you had ever built, and for a brief moment, neither of you were CEOs, rivals, or heirs. You were just people. That night, when he leaned in to kiss you, you didn't stop him. The city lights blurred behind you, your closed eyes, and for the first time in years, you felt something warm, terrifying, and real. Days turned into nights, meetings became excuses to see each other. You both kept it secret, two powerful families, two rival empires. It wasn't supposed to happen. He had teased you for being too composed. You would call him out for being arrogant, and yet there was laughter between the tension, tenderness between the pride. But perfect things don't last long, not in your world. It started with whispers, boardroom murmurs, his father's sharp eyes during meetings. Then one night Jungkook came to you, colder than usual. Did you talk to my father? He asked. About what? About merging the luxury division. He said flatly, he seems to think you brought it up. You frowned. I didn't. He said you are only close to me because of that. You stared at him. Do you believe him? He didn't answer. His silence was heavier than words. Jungkook, you said quietly, if you think I need you for business, you don't know me at all. His jaw tightened. Then why do you need me? Because I love you. You whispered. He froze. It was the first time you had said it. And maybe you thought the last, but instead of softening, his eyes hardened. Love, he repeated, or ambition. You felt something inside you break, What are you saying? You think I don't see it? He said, raising his voice. You are just another woman trying to use me for power. The room went quiet. The words hung in the air like glass shattering, sharp, irreversible. You blinked once, twice, then forced a laugh. Though your voice trembled, another woman, you whispered. You just lost the only one who wasn't. You turned, leaving him standing there, the man you had fallen for, the man who just destroyed the one thing you never gave easily, your heart. You didn't cry, you didn't call him, you didn't explain. Instead, you buried yourself in work, meetings, contracts, deals, anything to drown the ache. But every time you passed his company's name on a document, your chest tightened. Every song, every memory, every flash of that night haunted you. He had looked at you with eyes full of love once, and then, in the next moment, he had looked at you like a stranger. A week later, you stood before your father in his study, papers in hand. He glanced up at you the same way he had when you were little and trying not to cry. Now you know why I built an empire before trusting anyone. You didn't answer, you just nodded because deep down he was right. In a world full of men who only saw you as a name, a position, a title, you had let one man see your soul. And he called it strategy. It had been weeks since that night, the night his words cut through everything you had built together. You had replayed them 1,000 times in your head, not because you missed him, but because you couldn't understand why. Why a man who had once touched you like you were sacred suddenly looked at you like you were something cheap. But what you didn't know, not yet, was that Jungkook had already begun to regret it. Jungkook hadn't been himself since that night. His office, once full of laughter and energy, had turned silent. He snapped at his employees, avoided meetings, drowned himself in work. He didn't even read properly. His father watched him from the doorway one evening. You look tired, Mr. Han said calmly. I'm fine. Jungkook replied, eyes still on the files. She'll ruin you, his father murmured. She already did, Jungkook whispered. The older man smirked faintly, not in cruelty but in quiet victory. He thought he had protected his son. In truth, he had destroyed him. A flashback, a week before that fight. Jungkook sat in his father's office. Mr. John leaned back on the couch, a glass of whiskey in his hand. You are getting too close to Han's daughter. It's not your concern, Jungkook replied. Oh, but it is. You think her father will let you run the empire if they merge? You'll be her husband, not her equal. Jungkook's eyes hardened. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Love? His father scoffed. Don't be naive, Jungkook. She's her father's daughter. She'll take everything one day. You'll be left with your pride and nothing else. He didn't want to believe it, but that doubt, that seed of suspicion, had already been planted. And when you said those playful words at the dinner, he's the only man who makes me lose control. Laughter filled the room, but his father's warning echoed louder. That night, insecurity won. You disappeared from his life, but not from the headlines. Within weeks, you signed two international deals, one Jungkook had been chasing for months. Your name dominated the news, your face graced every business magazine, and your success became the new standard. When you showed up at a business event, the crowd went silent for a moment. You were stunning, confident, untouchable, the kind of woman no one dared to approach without invitation. And when you finally greeted him, your voice was smooth, polite, and cold enough to burn. Congratulations, Mr. John. I heard you lost the fair and deal. I, on the other hand, didn't. You smiled, poised, deliberate, then turned away, leaving him standing there in the weight of his own defeat. That night, Jungkook drank alone in his penthouse. The city lights flickered against the glass. He watched you on television, your smile, your grace, the effortless way you commanded every room you entered. He was haunted by your scent, your voice, your absence. His world started falling apart one piece at a time because the woman who once chased him now didn't even look his way. Months later, his company faced a scandal. Investors began to pull out one by one, and rumors spread like wildfire through the business world. The project he had once boasted about, the one that was supposed to solidify his legacy, was now collapsing, and the company that quietly bought his failing project, one of your subsidiaries. Everyone whispered that you were the reason he was losing everything, that this was your revenge. But you never once mentioned his name publicly. You didn't need to. Your silence spoke louder than any accusation ever could. Your success, your calm, your control, they were reminders of everything he destroyed and could never rebuild. One evening, he showed up at your office, the same man who once called you just another woman, now stood in front of you, drenched in regret and exhaustion. His confidence was gone, replaced by the hollow look of someone who finally understood the weight of his own mistakes. You really moved on like I meant nothing. You raised a brow. You made sure I was nothing, remember? Please, I was angry, I didn't. No, you were proud, and pride always costs too much. He didn't speak after that. He just watched as you gathered your files, composed and poised, not a single tremor in your voice or step. You didn't look back as you walked away, your heels clicking against the marble floor, echoing through the silence between you. And in that moment, he realized what true power looked like. It wasn't dominance or control or winning, it was you, the woman he had broken, now standing taller than ever, owning every inch of his downfall. He didn't sleep that night. The moment you walked out of that office, something inside him cracked open. A silence too heavy, a guilt too sharp. He went home and walked past his father's office. The door wasn't fully closed. Inside, Mr. John spoke with one of his associates, his voice low but unmistakably proud. Of course, she was never after him, but he didn't need to know that. I couldn't let that girl control him the way her father controlled the city. The words hit Jungkook like ice. He froze in the hallway, every breath burning in his chest. He pushed the door open. His father turned startled. Jungkook, you lied to me. He repeated, his voice already shaking. I did what was best for you, Mr. John said calmly. She would have ruined you. No, Jungkook said, his voice breaking. You did. He walked out, shoulders tense, eyes red, the sound of betrayal ringing louder than any argument could. For the first time in his life, he realized he hadn't lost you because of pride, he had lost you because he trusted the wrong person. A month later, you hosted a charity gala, the same kind of event where your story with him had begun. Except this time, you weren't standing on the balcony, lost in thought. You were on the stage, elegant, composed, the image of control. Tonight is not about the past, you said to the crowd. It's about building something stronger for the future. Applause echoed, and when you stepped down, you saw him in the crowd. Jungkook dressed in black, eyes following only you. He approached you cautiously, voice low. You look different, he said. I became who you thought I couldn't be. You replied calmly, Vian. He started, but you interrupted him. Don't. You lost the right to say my name that night. You turned to leave, but he caught your wrist gently, desperately. His voice trembled. Please, I know what my father did. I know what I said. I was wrong, but I can't breathe knowing you hate me. I don't hate you. I just stopped needing you. You pulled your hand back, meeting his gaze with quiet strength. He broke down, confessing that his words were born from fear of losing control, fear of love's power over him. You listened silently, then stepped closer. You wanted me to be just another woman, remember? Now that's all I'll ever be to you. He shook his head. You were never just another woman, Mayan. You were the woman, the one who could destroy me with a sentence. Then why did you make me prove it? Because you make me feel small, and I didn't know how to love you without feeling weak. That's the difference, Jungkook. Love doesn't make you weak, pride does. You walked away. He didn't follow this time. He just stood there watching your car fade into the mist, whispering the line that broke him. I said she was just another woman, but she became the only one I'll ever love.